Yesterday, Sayadaw explained then that when we walk according to the Satipatthana path, in order to get good results, we need to follow the method and also the rules. The method is just the path of Satipatthana practice. And this method has been explained, and all that the person has to do, knowing the method, is to walk along the path. But walking along the path, one must also follow the rules. And if we do that, the causal qualities of a Kalyanamitta will arise. The Buddha said that Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo. The Dhamma preached by the Buddha is referred to as Svakata, well-spoken. There are two parts of Dhamma. Dhamma contains both theory and practice. If we practice according to the rules, we'll get exact results. And if we avoid misdeeds, we'll avoid bad results. So in doing the practice, if we put what we know into practice, we will get precise results. And that is what is meant by svakata. And in order to bring that about, to bring about the precise results that come from the practice, there are mental powers that arise as we practice. Saddha, the power of faith. Viriya, the power of courageous effort. Sati, the power of awareness. Samadhi, the power of mental stability. And Panya, the power of discriminating knowledge. These powers arise in the practice. And the texts describe how these qualities are connected one to another in a way like a chain. It's very interesting how they're described. If a Kalyanamitta is fulfilled with the causal qualities of a Kalyanamitta, they have knowledge. And sati, they're fulfilled with sati. Sati, mindfulness, examines how kusala and akusala dhammas occur. So satya kusala kusalanang dhammanang gatiyo samanue samano. The person who is fulfilled with sati, mindfulness that occurs all the time, can examine with this steadfast, firm sati how kusala dhammas, wholesome dhammas, and akusala dhammas, unwholesome dhammas, how they occur and what happens when they occur. So how do kusala dhammas occur? They're free of fault, and therefore good results come always from kusala. Akusala is not free of fault. It's blameworthy, and therefore it brings bad results. One who is fulfilled with sati, upatita sati, can examine how dhammas occur. And this examining how akusala and akusala, what happens when they occur, is reflecting on them with sati. Ordinary people, with regard to their physical, verbal, and mental behaviors, don't apply wise consideration or yoniso manasikara. And they let their mind go where it wants. So the mind can just go anywhere, for most people. Now, if we have an objective, our mind will follow that objective. So if we have the objective of being mindful, the mind will follow that. But if we just let the mind go, there's no control, and the mind will associate with greed, with anger, with delusion. And for the most part, ordinary people are like this. Their minds are associating with akusala most of the time. They don't understand the faults of akusala. They don't understand its blameworthy nature, and so they don't avoid it. And they don't understand either the good, wholesome nature of akusala and the benefits that it brings. So they aren't able, lacking sati, they aren't able to reflect on what happens due to kusala, what happens due to akusala. And therefore, they spend their time, one year after another, living a life that is undirected without the control of sati. Without sati, one doesn't have the ability to examine and reflect on what happens when kusalas arise and what happens when akusala arise. A good Kalyanamitta, to the extent that they have sati, say for example that they have quite a lot of sati, they're able to see the way kusalas develop and the way akusala develops. They can see what the path is that akusala takes and what the path that akusala takes is. And they can see the nature of akusala and akusala. And therefore knowledge arises. With sati one can see, this action brings good, this action brings bad. Following upon sati is knowledge. If one doesn't know about the path that akusala takes, the path that kusala takes, then we won't be able to act properly. But if we have wisdom at the fore, then we're able to see clearly, discern this clearly, the wisdom that comes from sati. In the world, kilesas are flowing, and to what extent it's almost, it's not possible to say. They're flowing to an extreme extent. And in the old days, educated Brahmins did not know how can one stop the flow of kilesas and how can one cut off kilesas. If someone like that, if people like that who were educated in the Brahmin system with jhanas and so on, did not understand how to cut off the kilesas, then how can people now, with only worldly education, worldly degrees, understand how to stop the flow of kilesas and cut them off? So for the most part, people in the world are floating, just bobbing along in streams of lobha, greed, anger, and delusion. And this is not anything special. So if one is able to reflect, if one can evaluate whether something is wholesome or unwholesome, then how will the world be? Will the world be better or the world be worse? If one can reflect about how kusalas, what their path is and what the path of a kusala is, will one's physical, verbal, and mental behavior become good, or will it become bad? So a true Kalyanamitta can reflect accurately on kusala and akusala, and therefore can bring about a lot of prosperity. In the Buddha's time, a young hermit who was a Brahmin came to the Buddha, and he asked the Buddha a question in the form of the gatha that Sayadaw just recited. And the meaning is, he said, everywhere in the world, kilesas are flowing like a stream. With what can this stream be stopped? With what can it be cut off? Please tell me. This is the question that he asked the Buddha. And it's a simple question and a very good question. Kilesas are flowing everywhere in the world. With what can this stream of kilesas be stopped? With what can it be cut off? This is a good question that needs to be reflected on very seriously and not taken lightly. Kilesas are flowing in the world like a stream. We live in a world of sense pleasures. And for the most part, with the wanting to see good things, wanting to hear good things, wanting to taste, smell, and touch. If we want these things, there's no end. There's no end to the wanting of them when we have sense desire. And it's said that these sense objects, they're called kama guna. Guna means like a string. Then, button. That it also means like a string. Okay, I know. Okay, thank you. So, guna means something which ties up, like a bond. And it also means the string on a bow. And so we are tied up. When we crave for sense pleasures, we're tied to these objects firmly, just like if we're tied up with a string. And when greed occurs, it can grow from, if we don't have awareness, it can grow from being mild to being extreme. What is really happening in our bodies and minds is just physicality and mentality, rupa and nama, connected by cause and effect. These are impermanent and suffering, and there's no inherent self. But we don't know this when we crave, when we want sense pleasures. We think what we experience is self, and we also think that we were created by a creator. And in this way, the stream of false belief flows like a river. And sometimes it's the flow of anger, or there's the flow of pride, and then not knowing, avijja, and not being ashamed to do wrong, ahiri, not being afraid of doing wrong, anotapa. These flow like a stream due to our greed, due to wanting. And this is what is meant by the flow of kilesas. If we don't see the faults of the kilesas in our minds, then these kilesas will lead to misdeeds, will act based on the kilesas. And even here in this country, which is a Buddhist country, this is the case. There's kilesas and resulting misdeeds by way of body, speech, and mind are flowing all over. And last of all, there's the stream of avijja, of unknowing. One doesn't know that something is unwholesome, and one thinks that it is good. Seeing this, the young Brahmin asked the Buddha, everywhere, all the time, the rivers of kilesas are flowing in the world. With what can we stop the stream? With what can we cut it off? This is a good question, and if the number of people who ask this question increases in the world, and if a large number of people ask this question, it will be very good. The Buddha accepted what the young Brahmin said. He said that kilesas are flowing in the world. And sati is what blocks them. Sati is what blocks the flow of kilesas. So with noting, we can stop the flow of kilesas. If we block the stream of kilesas with sati, it will stop. If we have a fever, we take medicine, and the fever is reduced, but we still have the fever. It's not gone yet. And the same with at first when we know it was sati, the stream will stop. It doesn't mean that it's cut off completely, but the flow can weaken and stop. When we know every arising object firmly, every seeing, every hearing, every tasting, touching, smelling, thinking, every noting contains sati, and if we do it often, as the sati gets stronger, it sticks to the object, and then we have protection. Rekha Varanagoti. We have protection. Sati protects, it blocks, and it controls. And this is evident when we practice noting every arising object, seeing, hearing, tasting, and so on, noting it right away, firmly, as soon as it arises. With this sati, the flow stops. It becomes weak and stops. And from here, knowledge develops. First, we can discern mind and body, nama and rupa, and then how due to causes, results occur, the cause-effect relationships. And then we can see the impermanent nature of phenomenon, the suffering nature, and its impersonal nature. And knowing is what cuts off the stream. Peññāya padiyare is what the Buddha said. The stream of kilesas is cut off with peññā, with wisdom. If yogis note respectfully, continuously, according to the discipline, then the kilesa stream will be stopped and then cut off. If sati is weak, the flow of the kusalas will not stop. But when moments of noting, which are kusala, wholesome, are connected one after another, their energy becomes very strong, very powerful. The Kalyanamitta is also fulfilled with samadhi. And when one is fulfilled with samadhi, it's said that samadhi na tata ekagasaito hotwa is a person. This explains what the result is of being fulfilled in samadhi. But first of all, samadhi is free of movement. Samadhi is a quality which does not move there's no movement due to raga, greed. And therefore it's quiet, it's calm. There's no movement due to dosa, anger. And so samadhi is quiet, clear, and calm. This samadhi follows upon sati and panya. With mindfulness, with upatita sati, one can examine the path of kusalas, the path of akusalas, can examine and reflect upon them. And with knowledge of the knowledge that develops from sati, one can see clearly what is beneficial and what is not beneficial for oneself and others. Samadhi stands firmly in this knowledge of what is beneficial for others and as well as oneself and what is not. This is due to the force of samadhi. And virya also brings the quality of not favoring one's body. One is able to give up worldly pleasures. One can leave worldly pleasures behind to undertake the practice. One can put up with being tired. One can walk the path of practice, and one can make effort to note every arising object. First of all, there's initial effort. And then we increase our effort to overcome obstacles such as laziness. And when we can do so due to our effort, we become brave. We increase our effort again and again to overcome whatever obstacles are there. And this effort culminates in our being able to reach the goal. And this is what is called arata virya. Such effort that one has due to practice gives one the energy to work tirelessly for oneself and others in pointing out, stopping others and stopping oneself from doing what is bad, doing what is detrimental, and in pointing out what is good. This effort is active in both instructing and pointing out what not to do. So each of these qualities of the Kalyanamitta bring results. The yogis are now developing these energies that are mentioned. And when these energies are full, the full benefits will arise. Those who are practicing now, if we're fulfilled with the causal qualities of a Kalyanamitta, if we see that we've fulfilled these qualities and are satisfied, feel satisfied with the Dhamma that we've practiced, then how will we feel towards our family? How will we feel towards our work companions and those around us? How will they feel towards us? If we are fulfilled with these qualities, the causal qualities that Sayadaw mentioned, then we're sure to be well loved, respected, and the object of others' metta. If in one circle of friends or within one's family there is such a person like that is fulfilled with the qualities of a Kalyanamitta, then that person will be a good family member, a good member of the company, a good citizen of the world. Everyone, we all have a responsibility to become a good citizen of the world. Knowing that this is our responsibility, Sayadaw seriously urges all of us, by undertaking the practice, fulfilling the causal qualities of a Kalyanamitta, and bringing about the resultant qualities of a Kalyanamitta, may we all undertake the practice seriously, and with this in mind, try to accomplish this. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu.